Hey guys, this is SF and Fantasy Hatcher 2.0 is coming up very soon in NA. People call it the Disney Hatcher. It's not the Disney Hatcher, although there are names of monsters that are like Disney, like Disney anime and movies. It's not called the Disney Hatcher, and it's Fantasy 2.0 after Margaret, Teeny, and Shumpool. There's a Fantasy 3. There's a third Fantasy Hatcher that's in JP right now, coming that recently passed. But I'll be talking about the second one, and there's 2 4-star monsters, 3 5-star monsters in the Hatcher, and 2 extreme monsters. 2 extreme monsters, yes. 4-star. Let's go with 4 stars. First up with Bibi. Let's go with the evolved version. Viv Lost Layer L, Gauge of No Warp, okay stats in terms of 5-star monsters. Strike Shot is a speed up and power up, and bump combos and energy circle S. Now his use, one of the trollier 4-star monsters that doesn't really have much use. In terms of Vivilost Slayer, it's only Emerald Dragon in terms of boss, but Emerald Dragon has a lot of gravity barriers, and there are damage walls in there as well. In terms of Snow Warp, you probably use it for Kushinada, but you must be having a really limited box for you to be using Bibi in for that dungeon. There's a lot more farmable ones that are a lot better, like Krishna, Hydra's better, Fenrir is better, and a lot of others. Even Emerald Dragon, the Ascended version, is a lot better than Bibi just because of stats alone. Next up is Pinocchio. Evolved form Pinocchio appears power type Beastler EL, and in stats he has high attack and low speed just like power types. Strike Shot is a bash and a knock up, and bump combo is a mega blast. I'm not really sure of the actual translations of the blast types, but it is a blast either way. For him, not very useful in terms of dungeons out right now. There's no beast extremes out there. There are some beast savages in JP recently, but in terms of extreme, he doesn't have much use. But there is potential, just like how Saya was with Soul Wing and other mechs. And beast. Hopefully, there's a beast extreme boss coming up soon. In JP, there's none right now. And EL, because of his EL, he's the only Beastler EL in the game, which is 3.5 damage for beast monsters. There are some mobs that are beasts, but you probably won't just use them just to take off mobs. There are a lot more monsters that can actually clear effectively without the Slayer. Okay, now let's go for the 5-star monsters. First up, Rapunzel. Let's go for the evolved version. Evolved version is a Fiendstar M. She's a blast type, so her stats are pretty low. Strike Shot is a homing, just like Mozart, the evolved version. So 100 homing shots randomly to enemies, and bump combo is a cross laser L. Let's look at the Ascended version. She's still a blast type, Robot Slayer, and Demon Slayer, and Gauge of No Gravity Barrier. Her stats are still low. Strike Shot is the same, and bump combo EX Laser S included with the cross laser L. Now, her use, well, the Ascended version is better than the evolved version, but her use in terms of dungeons, she's really good for Butterfly and Death Scroll, but that's basically it. She is viable in no gravity barrier dungeons, but most of the time you probably won't choose her over other monsters unless you have nothing else better. There are a lot more better no gravity barrier monsters out there, like Izanami or even Veridundi. If you're choosing water, even Margaret's better. Because her Strike Shot's not that easy to hit because it's all random unless you only have the boss left. And even so, it's only 100 shots, and I don't think it even goes over 1,000,000 for just hitting one monster. So I think it does like 700 or 800k, I don't remember, but it certainly doesn't go over 1 million. And bump combo cross laser L, which is really good for clearing mobs because her abilities targets mobs mainly. There is some mechs bosses like Soul Wing out there. She's really good for Soul Wing, but that's basically it. But there are a lot of mobs that are robots. There are mechs, which are like the mine people, the mine robots that shoots out the mines, and demons. One that comes to mind is the cats with the top hat that shoots out cross lasers. But she's mainly there for clearing mobs instead of actually clearing the boss. That's why she's not really that high up in people's minds, because anybody can clear mobs. Like any monster can clear mobs, but very few can clear a lot of bosses effectively. Now let's look at Snow White Reborn, the Ascended version, and no gravity barrier, piercing type, very low HP, and strike shot is the same as the Rose Monster Striker, where whenever you hit the weak spot of a boss, then it does, or any monster actually, then it'll do a lot of damage. And speed up for the bump combo. Let's look at the Ascended version. Pierce, water resistance, stats are a lot better than the Evolved version. Strike shot is the same as Ra and Tengu, where it shoots a flame out in the direction that you choose, but it also poisons the enemy, or like all the enemies out there. Bump combo is a close spread shot 9 and piercing homing 4. Now I want to talk about the strike shot a little bit, but because her poison, it does 700k, so 700,000 HP to all enemies over 3 turns, so it's a total of 2.1 million. But even so, the Evolved version is the better one. Why? Because the Ascended version, just because her abilities, there's not many good. Her abilities only on water resistance, and her strike shot and her bump combo is not that well. It's not that good. She's only useful for the strike shot, although it does a lot of damage, but it's only for the boss, and you can only use it once throughout the boss fight, unless you really want to stall for it for every single bar. So people choose it for the Evolved version, and why people choose it for the Evolved version, there's another reason, because the Evolved version is probably number 1. The Evolved version is number 1 in terms of Tsukuyomi, which is an impossible monster, which is the dark impossible monster, and she makes teams a lot stable. You don't need her. You don't really need her. She's kind of like a Roma position in Kushinada, where she makes teams stable, but as long as you have okay teams, you don't need her. Why she's good for Tsukuyomi is because of the speed up and the no gravity barrier, because you need to one-shot mobs, and you need to have enough speed, or even more speed, to one-shot mobs, because they're all over the place. So she makes clears a lot better, but she's not 100% needed. Like I said, she's like a Roma in Kushinada. You don't really need Roma in Kushinada. You can just use 4 Izanamis and probably kill them. And just like Tsukuyomi, you can use for other monsters. I'm not really sure what 4 monsters, maybe like a Merlin or the Ascended version of Merlin and a Roma and Napoleon, something to that effect. Some of those monsters are okay if you have 4 of them. If you have a combination of the 4, just not 4 duplicates of them. Something like that. So of course she's not needed, but she makes it a lot stable in terms of those clears. And in all the other dungeons, Snow White, you probably won't use her just because of the low HP. And speed up doesn't really help you that much. And her strike shot doesn't do that much either. Now next one is Aladdin. There's so much hype around it, and I want to kind of break that hype after I introduce him. Ability, no damage wall. Gauge, no warp. Strike shot is a speed up power up and a counter mode. counter mode, what it does is that over, I think it's 2 rounds, or I think it's 2 rounds, where he goes to counter mode, if he gets attacked and it shoots out his bump combo, which is a reflecting laser out 4, towards the enemies. I'm not sure how the direction it goes to. I think it's random, but I'm not really sure. I haven't really used that counter mode that often. Let's look at the Ascended version. Ability Flight, Dark Resist, Gauge of No Damage Wall. Strike Shot is the speed up, power up, and counter. Bump Combo, Energy Circle S added in with the reflecting laser. Now people always go for the evolved version, there's no doubt about that. And his general uses, he's kind of like an Izanami. And this is where I start breaking the hype of Aladdin, because I've been seeing a lot of people that are like, oh my god, Aladdin's coming, he's like so OP, and I have to get one, something like that, and stuff like that. He's not generally OP. There are a lot better monsters out there in general. As some of them are like Odo, Izanami's better than him, and what else? Kushina, of course, is better than him. Odo's better than him. Saigo Takamori, I would choose Saigo Takamori over Aladdin. She's in my mind, he's on the independence level, like, which is really above a lot of monsters, but still not like at the OP crazy level. If you're starting out, you can re-roll for him. He's worth to re-roll. But if you have a really decent box, a box that can clear impossible dungeons like Izanami and Kushinada, then even if you don't roll and don't rage, he's not worth it to re-roll. He's good for Izanagi, which is another impossible dungeon, but Izanagi is not in the level of Kushina or Izanami in terms of viability. I think Izanagi is like one of the worst impossible monsters out there. I think he is the worst. Other than that, or Bishamonten. But Aladdin's not really worth rerolling. And even for Izanagi, even though he's really useful for Izanagi, I think Eclipse is a lot better. People choose Eclipse over Aladdin sometimes in JP because of the attribute difference. And Eclipse has the same no damage wall and no warp ability set, but Eclipse's strike shot does a lot more. His strike shot does, Eclipse's strike shot can do 7, I think over 1 million, with if you do it right. And bump combo, it's not a slouch. Although Aladdin's bump combo is a lot better than Eclipse, Eclipse is not really that worse. It's not really useless. And for the strike shot, the counter mode, it only does 1 instance of the reflecting laser, where the normal bump combo of the reflecting laser does 3 instances. And usually you don't want to get hit to activate the counter mode, although it does some damage. It doesn't do crazy amount of damage. It only does like what, 10k to a boss, even on a weak spot or something like that. So it doesn't do that much. So that's why I don't really like counter mode monsters that much either. But that's pretty much it, Aladdin. If you have any questions about why I don't like, I know that I accept the fact that Aladdin is really good, but I don't accept the fact that he's on the level that you should re-roll him or have to spend a lot of money just to get him if you're IAPing. Like, he's not worth like the amount that you might want to roll for like a Doma or an Odo or a Saigo or even a Margaret. I think Margaret's going down a little bit in terms of potential in late game meta, in the current meta in JP, but I don't think he's worth that much. Next up is the Extreme. First up is Viscious. Let's look at the evolved version. No warp. He's a power type, so high attack, low speed. Strike shot is bash first enemy and then spread shot. And bump combo is a one-way laser EL. He's on the level of all the other extreme one-way laser monsters with the 17k power. There is the Hatcher level monsters with the 24k, and there's the burst type Hatcher monsters, which are 30k, if I remember correctly. Next up is the Ascend Demon Slayer. High attack, low speed, of course, with the power type. And Strike Shot is bash first enemy and then knock up instead of the Spread Shot. Bump Combo is the same with the Spread Shot L2 as the sub. Now, the Evolved version is a lot better just because the Ascend version, although it's a Demon Slayer, there are a lot better Demon, there are a lot more better Demon Slayers in the game, like Lunaikyong and and Ki. And if Lunaikyong X is coming out soon, then Lunaikyong X is a lot better just because she's a Demon Slayer with the No Warp, basically combining the two versions of Viscious together. But for Viscious, in terms of overall effectiveness, the No Warp, you can probably use him for Kusanada just as a filler, just like what I did with you can fill it with like Astaroth, or fill it with fill for Krishna and stuff like that. But I would rather use Krishna or Astaroth over Viscious, just because you won't really be using the bump combo that much for Kusanada. You want to do more wave clear, mob clear, than more damage to the boss. And if you spend turns wasting on positioning him, then your chances of beating Kusanada goes down. But go for the Ascend version. But his overall dungeons that he's really good at is very, very limited. There are some wood dungeons that he's okay at, but I wouldn't really go for max luck for him. But the next monster is a person that you might want to max luck. She's okay as a max luck monster, but her dungeon is not that easy to have really good runs and really fast runs, especially with max luck monsters. But vanilla, she's an old grandma, and then when she evolves, she becomes younger. But ability, Discordy Slayer, which is like Tiger or Ki. Engage shot of no damage wall. Lower attack than the Ascended version. I'll show you the Ascended version later. But there is the gauge shot bonus, which kind of puts her on level with the Ascended version. Strike Shot is becoming a piercing type, just like Lancelot or Yoshinobu. Bump Combo is a vertical laser L. Let's look at the Ascended version. No damage wall. Stats are about the same, I think. Strike Shot it becomes a pierce type, just like the Evolved version, but it has a 4-turn cooldown. I'll explain the differences later. Vertical laser L and Spread Shot L2 for the sub and the bump combo. Now, I would go for the Ascended version because of the Strike Shot, and also that the Evolved version, the Discordy Slayer, it's only for Tiger or Ki, and there are better monsters to beat. There are monsters that can beat Tiger and Ki, so she's not really that needed for those two. Although she's really good for Ki because of the dark attribute, and there are damage walls in Ki. But I would rather, for overall usefulness, I think Strike Shot, and just because of the Strike Shot alone, is the Ascended version. Now, talking about the difference between the Ascended version, the Evolved version Strike Shots. The Evolved version, which is the 18 turn. The 18 turn, there is a speed boost along with the piercing. So if you use Yoshinobu's Strike Shot before, or Lancelot's Strike Shot before, or seen it, she'll move a lot faster than normal. However, the Ascended version does not get the speed boost. She just becomes a regular bounce type, regular pierce type, just like any other piercing monsters out there. So she doesn't get a speed boost. And why she is good? Because of the 4-turn cooldown, because every turn you can choose when to bounce or pierce, which is really good because you might want to pierce a specific monster to get a bump combo off, or pierce to actually get to a heart. And since she's a no damage wall character, you don't have to worry about the no damage walls around the walls to actually go for the heart and stuff like that. that's why I think she's really good for the Ascended version. And if you want to max luck her, then I think she's the better one out of the two. But her dungeon's not that easy. She's easier than Viscious in my opinion, but she's not really good if you don't have the right monsters for it. And there's not that many good descent monsters that are good for him if you want to run max luck. But Fenrir's okay in terms of her dungeon. I think it's all no damage wall. It's all damage walls and warps in that dungeon, but that's basically it. Other than that, then you gotta stack up on no damage wall monsters that are max luck. I don't know if a lot of you have those. I know a lot of people have like Death Coils and Queen Butterflies and Dark Worms. Outside of that, out of those three, I don't think any of them are really good for Vanilla's dungeon. But I might be wrong. I might be remembering wrong. But I just remember using Eclipse, Sasuke, and some other monsters for that dungeon. But check that video out if you want to know what that dungeon looks like. But and choose if you want to max luck or not. It's very hard in terms of running with only descent monsters. But that's it for me, Fantasy Hatcher 2. If you have any questions, then comment down below, and please subscribe and like this video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.